Welcome back to that Heartbreak Hogs podcast. Sid, we're doing take two on this one because
Yeah,
yesterday it turns out the audio was all messed up and Sid sounded like a robot. So
and whose fault was that? It was. It's all right. It was only an hour of recording that we're doing again.
we we had some really good material that you guys will never get to see. I mean,
Nope.
this was insane material that this would have blown everything up. Like the
Hey,
whole sports world would have blown up from this.
and today's is going to be better.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's do a reaction first to the Auburn Arkansas game. Um, I guess I'm gonna try. We're gonna go over the stats. I'll kind of try to summarize my takes from our previous recording. Sid can kind of summarize his takes, and we're gonna try to shorten this up a little bit just because of time, unfortunately. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. So, at first downs, I'm gonna start with Arkansas's number and then Auburn's. First downs, Arkansas had 21 to 17 Auburn. Third down efficiency, 19 or 9 of 19 for Arkansas, 5 of 11 for Auburn. 2 for 4 on fourth down for Arkansas, 1 for 3 for Auburn. And important to make note here that one that Auburn got was like a 67-yard play for a touchdown, which really sucked. Total yards, Auburn beat Arkansas. Arkansas had 334, Auburn 437, 31, sorry. Passing, Arkansas 151, Auburn 285. Very interesting there. Rushing, Arkansas 183, Auburn 146. Penalties, Arkansas 4 for 20 yards, Auburn 5 for 45. Interceptions, Auburn had 4, Arkansas had 2. One Auburn quarterback, Hank Brown, he had 3 interceptions, and Peyton Thorne had 1. And then they lost 1 fumble, and both interceptions by Arkansas were by Taylor Green. So, as we can see here, if you just look at the stats, you may think that, Auburn may have come away with this football game. The turnovers were really what gave Arkansas this game. They were in places that gave Arkansas scoring opportunities. And yeah, I mean, Arkansas just took advantage of it, had some really great takeaways at key points of the game. I'd like to say this just about Taylor Green. Taylor Green, to me, he's not a Heisman winner. He's not going to be, the leader in the SEC. But I think he is a QB1 for Arkansas. Whenever Singleton went in and got his shot, he folded like a lawn chair. Big moments for me are very important, and I get it. So not every quarterback is going to come out swinging and stuff, but it says a lot to me when one does. And Talon has that dog in him, in my opinion. He fights for every yard. He jumps into people. As Sid likes to say, he karate kicks them. There's something about it that whenever he's running, and especially on third downs, it's so key. Or I'd say that Talon is very clutch in those situations, and he makes a lot of things happen. His legs are impressive. His moves are impressive. I want to see less passing from Talon moving on. I want to move 27 passes down to about 20 passes and make more designed runs. And then my other thing, before we get to Sid's takes on this, and I'm just trying to summarize everything that we missed from the last video, Broden has to catch some balls. And I think that once he does catch one, there are more to come. I think that it's going to just create a chain of more balls coming his way, more big-time catches. Hopefully that's this weekend against A&M. And, yeah, the last thing I'm going to say is I tried to tell you guys, don't overreact to UAB. You just never know. Sometimes those games are hard to get up with. It was obvious that Arkansas was prepared for this game and they came out the victor. It was great seeing them win on the road by 2 scores and outscore Auburn in the second half and most importantly in the fourth quarter. Boom, your turn, Sid.
You done?
Yeah,
Want to take
I'm done.
want to take any more of my takes before I even mention them?
I
All
already took
right.
your karate kick.
No, it's all right. So let's start with Taylor Green because you mentioned the dog mentality,
Mhm.
and wholeheartedly agree with that. He did show that he can run the ball. He proved that he can get out of the pocket, which we already knew, but he proved he can make plays even when they're not there. However, I still don't think he's proven that he can throw the ball
Mhm.
just as well and make quick decisions in the pocket just as well. I know that 158-yard or 151 yards that he had in passing, but 60 of those yards, that, like you mentioned, was from one catch.
Yep.
And outside of that, there were a lot of mistakes, a lot of quick decisions that he's not able to make because he's looking at one guy, focused and lasered in on one guy, and
Mhm.
if he's not open, then he'll run
And
the
you're
ball.
talking about Armstrong, right?
I'm talking about Armstrong, but I'm also talking about just him, even when it's not a design play. Right now, of course, he trusts Armstrong more,
Yeah.
and Broden not like at all, really.
Yeah.
And he has a good reason to not, but still keeping on Taylor Green for now.
Mhm.
He just has to move his eyes, be able to move his eyes. I know the O line isn't helping him in doing that,
Yeah.
and I know the tight ends are kind of helping him as well, helping out that O line to protect him a little bit.
Mhm.
But he's still got to move his eyes around. He's got to make sure he reads the play, and if he needs to run, he needs to run. And he has already proven that he can do that really well.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I think you yesterday called it very electric to see this man run with the ball. Um, but defenses know if he's going to run with the ball, if he continues doing it, if he's able
Right.
to prove that he has a better passing ability, and he does, I think, in my opinion, he has much higher ceilings to go for the rest of the season. If he can prove his passing ability, his in the pocket presence, and 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 just kind of reading the play, reading the defense, and then making a decision instead of
Mhm.
panicking, and just running the ball. Again, very electric to see. But as we get tougher defenses,
Right.
um, this is what he's going to have to show me and have to prove. And I also mentioned about Singleton, which you mentioned. Um, he really didn't get a chance. I don't buy
Yeah.
anything from that game. He didn't really get a chance to prove himself. He could have been good. He could have been bad.
But he
We
didn't
don't know.
help
But does
himself.
it
That's the thing though. He didn't help himself.
not from the little moment that he got?
Mhm.
No. But Taylor Green has made lots of mistakes as well. We can't
Yep.
overlook that. That's why, again, he did show that he is the leader. I agree with you.
Yeah.
He did show right now he's our number one guy. Um, and he's got to be more careful. We talked about this whole karate kick thing, right? Just running blatantly like into defenses without a
Yeah.
care in the world. Very cool to see. Now be careful. You're our number one guy. Don't get hurt. Knock on
Yeah.
wood. And that again, it just comes back. I keep going back to it. Read the defenses better, and I don't
Yep.
think he should be passing less. I think he needs to get his confidence up in his receivers.
Interesting.
I think he needs to. I think he needs to pass around the ball a little bit more. And like I mentioned, the run is always there. The designed runs when we have Jaquindon Jackson, when we have Braylon Russell, and when we have Taylor Green.
Mhm.
That's a triple threat and
Yep.
able to run the ball. But passing, we
You don't
have
think
all
we
these
need option
receiver.
plays? Like you don't think we should do some sort of options
I
and
think they
tosses
already
and
for sure these they already exist, and I think those options couldn't hurt less. But I think we have a 6'7" receiver. I mean, you from these games that we've seen, you might not know this if you're not a Razorback fan, but we have a 6'7" receiver in Broden, and we're never going to see him with these
He doesn't have
pass.
any hands.
Exactly, we're never going to see that.
6'7" without hands. I'm
I
just
mean,
kidding,
God-given
but
gift to him to
yeah,
be that tall, and he needs to. I think he's also got a much higher ceiling, and if he again given that number 5
yeah,
um, jersey, he's gonna have to prove himself, and that's why I'm saying
hmm
Taylor Green needs to pass around the ball a little bit more, get his confidence up, be able to read the defenses, and whether it's even a screen pass just to get move the ball a little bit more, it's possible. And then we have guys that are making plays for us, Zatania,
hmm
Armstrong, that are going out of their way to make these catches for Taylor Green.
yeah.
And I think that's why he trusts him more. And if we get another guy in Broden,
hmm
this offense is going to be very
Oh,
lethal,
it'll be humming.
very
Yeah,
lethal, right?
yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I think that's about wraps it up for my take on this offense. And let's go on to defense. I don't know if you mentioned a little bit on that. I think defense improved a lot more from this
Mm.
game. Um,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. You can go on. And I'll just kind of go back and forth with you. I'll probably agree with a lot of what you're gonna say. Around the defense.
yeah. Just a quick the recap of that defense. I mean, I definitely saw um, better better defense this game, and
hmm
that makes me more hopeful for the rest of the season. They've made
They
learned from
tackled.
the mistakes. They've tackled not the greatest tackles, but they did make some tackles. They did strip the ball. They did get 4 picks, and that
Yeah.
is a much needed improvement. And I
hmm
think they can just only get better as the season goes on. And I hope they get better as the season goes on. But
I do
again,
too.
as we talked about last week, maybe they listened and maybe they'll keep listening.
hmm
Tackle, tackle, tackle. Learn how to tackle, and do that first. And we're not always going to get these strips. We're not always going to get these picks, but I think tackle is the main key. And our defense and Landon
Uh
Jackson
oh.
is going to have to
Uh oh.
do a
Oh, he's
lot better.
calling him out. He's calling him out.
We called him out last week, right? We
Yep.
called him out last week. We can't just keep calling
Yep.
him and Roden out week after week when they're supposed to be our top guys. And I think
hmm
everyone can agree with this. If they're not supposed to be our top guys, that's fine. But
They're supposed
they've
to be up there.
the coaches and everyone has
There was a
came out
lot of hype
that
around Broden
that
too,
these
not just
guys
Landon.
are exactly these two guys are
Hmm
supposed to be our top guys, and
Yep.
that's what we've been hearing throughout the preseason, throughout
Right.
from coaches, and we're just not
Fall
seeing
camp,
it. So
day
um,
one, week one.
exactly,
Yeah.
we're just not seeing it, and so I'm gonna keep calling them out until I give up on them, and I haven't given up on them yet.
Yep.
And I think this A&M game with Tennessee game coming up, all these tough SEC schedules will show them a chance, or will give them a chance to prove themselves.
Yep.
And our defense just as long as they keep humming and getting
hmm
these, even if it's a lucky picks, that's what we need,
Right.
because it can go either way with these with these picks. We had a bad one where it was tipped. They had a few as well, and it's just something that happens in a game. And
Yeah. And we capitalize too. And it
right,
needs to keep doing that. We need to keep capitalizing on these turnovers. And then something too to add on to your take on Jackson and Broden is we're not giving these guys a hard time because we think they should be benched because they're trash or anything. We're giving these guys a hard time because we know that they can be better. We know what their potential is, and Landon Jackson has very high potential. He's been known to be talked about as a first round, second round draft pick. Broden has been known throughout like fall camp that people are talking about him being one of the guys, one of the go-to guys that can make big plays, one of the under the radar guys, the dark horses, if you will. Broden is one of those guys. And so we know that they can do better than what they're doing. And that if they do get to the level that that we're expecting from them or that we're hearing about from them, this team becomes that much better, that much harder to beat on Saturdays for other teams.
You
So,
said it. Love. Yeah, exactly. We love these guys and just want to continue doing them better and cannot miss open passes. Gotta just build up trust
mm-hmm.
within each other. Like whether it's on defense, just trust the guys around you. Offense, build up Taylor's trust, and Taylor
Yep.
needs to do the same for these receivers. O line, give him a chance to
Mm-hmm.
make a play where he doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
to
And
automatically
snap the
run
ball.
and snap the
Snap
ball
the ball
correctly.
properly. Yes. I mean, that's the other reason why I think that if Singleton went in, he doesn't win this game because the offensive line's going to probably snap it over his head or they're going to snap it at his feet the next time. And then the pocket's going to collapse on him and he's just not going to be able to escape in the same way that Taylon Green can escape.
This is a simple correction that
Mhm.
shouldn't keep happening.
Yep.
That just needs to be fixed before we go into these upcoming matches.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's very easy as the whole tackling. We can just say tackle, 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 snap the
Yeah.
ball right, snap the ball right, snap
Snap
the
the
ball
ball.
right. We'll
Snap the
just
ball.
that's all we got to do. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess hopefully let's see this week if they listen and
Yeah.
it does happen.
I will say special teams, it was nice seeing blockers nowhere near the punt returner. That was nice to see. So glad that got corrected. You know, surprised that didn't get
Oh,
corrected in the first half of Oklahoma State whenever the blockers were right there. And then finally, one of the times that he got blocked into the guy. But anyway,
yeah, no, exactly. And second half, speaking of that, like we learned
yep.
how to play in the second half, which is
Yes.
a great thing, right?
Outscored him in the second half and the
Mhm.
fourth quarter. It was awesome.
That's
It's
what we love to
awesome.
see. That's You
Mm-hmm.
got a full game ahead of you. You
Yep.
can't just let down steam. If
Mm-hmm.
you're up at half, whatever's going on, the second
They held
half
the
is where you
lead. They
correct the
held the lead for
mistakes.
the most part.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
7-0. They held the lead, and then going into half, and then of course, like you said, scored 14 points.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they still showed that you're able to overcome adversity and
Yep.
you're able to perform in the second half, which is what we wanted to see.
Mm-hmm.
Not from just the UAB, not from the UAB game, but we saw that as well. And
Mm-hmm.
this game for sure. And I'm glad to see it. And I hope these corrections are, if they're corrections, we talked about this, if corrections need to be made by half, not for the next game,
Right.
at
In-game
half,
corrections. In-game
in-game
corrections.
corrections,
Mm-hmm.
be able to do that.
Yep.
Show up in the second half and don't make the same mistakes.
Exactly.
And that's what the fans love to see.
Mm-hmm. And that's what happened in this game. It was great to see. I want to ask you, Sid. So the reason that I'm saying that I want to decrease Jalen or Taylon Green's um, pass numbers is because I feel that if you do intentional runs, even if the defense is expecting it, they're going to move their defensive backs forward more. That you can potentially kind of give the impression that you may run, but it's going to open up the wide receivers more for deeper routes, bigger play opportunities. And it's just when the defense knows that you want to pass, but you can't, like they know that you're not a good passer, but they know you want to, they're going to play very different than if they know that you're probably going to intend to run more. And I just feel like it will open more lanes for both running the ball and passing the ball, because then once you pass the ball after running it a while, then you're going to torch the defense. Then they're going to get all freaked out, and then you can start running the ball again. And so it's kind
Yeah.
of a back and forth thing if you can balance that out.
Yeah. So you can't cover everybody, right? And
Mm-hmm.
to your point,
I hope that made
um,
sense. I
it
kind of,
did. You can't cover
yeah.
everybody. And to your point, if he is going to run the ball, the defensive backs are going to move up.
Mm-hmm.
However, if he's not able to, like you also mentioned, it's gonna open up. It should hopefully open up receivers, but if he's if they keep doing this and he's not able to move the ball at all or
Right.
throw the ball, I we'll see. That's a good point. Honestly, if the receivers can catch an open ball,
Because
um,
our backfield is filthy, dude. I mean, we got Jaquindon, we got Talon. You can even hand it off to a wide receiver. Have them swing by and just like have Broden run with it, or Centennia, hand it off to Centennia. Just. I mean,
yeah,
we're
they're
filthy
not
at the
gonna.
backfield.
So they're right now. I don't think we have a guy that they're gonna cover two. It's gonna be one on one, if anything, for receivers, and then the DBs are gonna keep an eye out on Talon or Jaquindon or
Hmm.
just a run coming up, and so they'll for sure take their eyes off of their man.
Yeah.
Um, and until these receivers are able to, receivers are all able to prove themselves. But again, it comes down to the O line having giving protection to
Hmm.
Talon and still being able to throw the ball. And Talon still it still comes down to him not just looking at the first option and
Hmm.
making that pass. And because it's not always going to work out, he needs to be able to see, hey, this is a tight coverage. This man is
Right.
actually guarding him. Let's not throw him that ball. Let's either run, which he's good at,
Yeah.
or we have an open man, and this other we have an open man that took his eyes off, and he is
Hmm.
able to um, throw the ball to the other receiver, whether it's Titania or Broden or Armstrong.
Yeah.
Um, it's just being able to read the defenses again comes back to
Right.
who took their eye off their man, and it's not going to be on that first pass, and that's
Hmm.
where I want to see him
Well, and if Broden catches a ball, it changes everything too. That the
right.
defenders don't, they're not going to be as keyed in on Armstrong, because if Broden's catching, then you got Centennia going deep. I mean, and then you got our tight ends, Luke has going in there, Gums in there. I mean, like it can
We
get
have
scary for the
catching
defense
options.
really quickly.
We
Oh
have
man,
lethal
it just
catching
pumps me up.
options. I mean, we have
Yeah,
lethal catchers. They just need to
yeah,
do it.
I know what
And
you're
I
saying.
did see a take where it was the tight ends really haven't been able to do much because they've been trying to help protect Talon as well
Hmm.
in the line, and so they've been just blocking for him
Blocking.
mainly. Um, but to your point, if the less blocking that they have to do, they get open,
Hmm.
and the more runs we have, we'll see if these tight ends are also able to make plays or not. But
Yeah.
so far they haven't been able to do anything, and I'm just gonna. I really want to see. This is why I'm saying less pat, or I'm not all in on the more running and less passing because of I want to see trust built up between these receivers. Right now, I feel like there
Yeah.
is minimal trust in the throwing and the catching, and between whether it's tight ends or whether it's all of our receivers,
Yeah.
and I think the trust right now is solely in the running game,
Hmm.
and
I get it.
we as fans trust it. It seems like the team trusts it as well, but as long as they have trust in on all these receivers and on
Right.
the whole offense. Honestly, if the whole offense is able to click,
Yeah,
that's
you want
where
the playmakers to get the ball, is what you're saying. You're saying that we've got playmakers at wide receiver and even at tight end as well that can be in scoring positions if we can get them the ball.
right. I just want more trust built around them
Right.
as well. I mean, I know I already have trust, and the team has trust in
Right.
Jaquindon and Talon running the
Yeah.
ball and Braylon Russell.
Right.
So I want to see the receivers and
Yeah.
playmakers,
The
like you
the
said.
only thing about that, man, is I just don't think he's got it at passing. I just don't think that you can get to that level where you need him to improve his passing enough where he can throw 30 times and hit 60, 70%. I just don't think you can make that big of a difference. And that's what I'm saying is go off of his strengths for now, reduce the passing a little bit, still pass the ball, but his strengths are running and he's durable. He doesn't appear to now. Knock on wood. I do not want him to get hurt,
Yeah,
but
that durability, I mean, is is tough because we say he's durable, but the
Mhm.
careless mistakes um, can cause
Now he could
like
start
happen at any
fumbling,
time.
that could start happening. He starts running more, and instead of interceptions, he's fumbling. So that could be something
Right,
that could be a side effect of running the ball more. But it just looks like that he is so much more natural running than he is throwing, and he can throw some really good balls, and then he can throw some really bad ones. I just don't know if forcing him to pass, it was kind of like watching KJ last year, forcing him to be
right,
somebody he wasn't. And
right.
I just don't think Talen's a passer.
So we don't. I agree. Okay, I see what you're saying now.
Yeah.
I'm getting to your point where we should, and I agree with this wholeheartedly. Like we should play to his strengths. However, as a quarterback, I think
Hmm.
your strengths also need to be
The
like
pass.
being able to be better than a 44%
Yeah.
passer
Yeah.
rating.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so and just make good decisions in passing. Of course, whether you need to throw it out of bounds, I get it.
Hmm.
And we talked about this as well. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Keep playing to his strengths, but if it doesn't work, it
Right.
comes back to the in-game adjustments and
Hmm.
being able to read the defenses, being able to read the field and make those adjustments. If it doesn't work, if it
Yeah.
continues working, run for 1,000 yards. Do
Yeah.
throw zero
I
passes.
just think that gives you the best chance of winning is whenever he's running.
But if it doesn't work,
Yeah. Yeah.
we have to be able. He has to be able to
Yeah.
switch it up. He has to learn how to be a passer as well to help his game in
Yeah.
running,
And I see
which
what
will
you're
help to
saying
his
too.
strengths. Which
And
will
you're
help to his
saying
strength.
like don't rely on it too much where now teams are preparing for it and that's all you got. Because
Exactly.
now all of a sudden they stop to that one thing and then you try to throw but you can't.
Exactly.
Is what you're
Yeah.
kind of getting at. Mhm.
Exactly. And teams should fear your strength. And
Yeah.
if his strength is running, teams should
Do,
fear that. But
do you think we should reduce it at all? Do you think so I said from 27 to 20. Do you think that reducing it by any amount is necessary or do you like him throwing that many times? Do you want him to try to throw around 30 passes a game?
it all depends how the game's playing out. That's a
Yeah,
tough question because if it's an offensive game, he's gonna have more passes. If the
right.
defense is
That's
able
a
to
good
get
point.
if the defense is able to get the opposing team off the field, he's gonna have more looks and more time. Right now, I mean, we destroyed the time of possession for this game,
Yeah.
and and if that continues to happen, then yeah, he doesn't need to throw as much. However, if we're and our third down efficiency is like you said is a very good this year, and
Hmm.
um, I think it just all depends on time of possession, how much timing we have, and if we're able to run the ball downfield, then yes, throw less passes. If we're just getting off the field, if we're down
Hmm.
14, 15,
Hmm.
14, 21, whatever, you need to do better than just running the ball because we're not
Yeah.
going to have our time on our side. If the
Hmm.
time is on our side, throw less passes, I guess. And if the time isn't on our side, be able to make decisions.
Right. No, I gotcha. Um, one last thing about Talon too, and then we can kind of wrap this up. Something that I noticed is Sid and I were talking about how now we didn't want this to happen in the UAB game, but it did. What does Talon do in close game situations? And he closed out the UAB game, came in. The Hogs were not looking good. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, we were tied at halftime. We were down most of the first half, and he got his stuff together, went on multiple scoring drives in a row, and won the game. That's against UAB. We wanted to see it against better competition. in Auburn. Auburn, we were up 7-0. Then it was 7-7. They take Talon out, and then he comes back in, and he gets a touchdown drive. Um, so now we're up 14-7. Then, um, Auburn gets. I think we got a field goal after that, and we're up by 10. Then Auburn gets another touchdown, 3-point game. Talon Green gets another touchdown drive, closes the game out, finishes it on the road, SEC play. That's where that dog, that heart, that leader energy is so important, and we cannot overlook. Yes, skill matters and all of that, and yes, Malachi may be known to throw the ball better, be more consistent, but you've got to have that leader mentality, that dog mentality to lead these guys to victories when it counts. And so far, Talon Green, outside of the Oklahoma State game, has done that. And it was a reaction to the Oklahoma State game that since that letdown, he has come up and he has led the team to victory. So that's kind of my ending thoughts on Talon and in Arkansas. Sid, was there some things that you wanted to add? Anything that you kind of maybe
No, I know
disagreed with a little
you're
bit?
big on Talon, and I am getting there as well. And I mean, look, he's our number one guy right now, and we talked
Right.
about this. And
Doesn't mean
Bobby
he's a
P,
Heisman. Doesn't mean that
no,
he's like, way, way up there. I'm just saying number
right,
one, our guy. Yeah, like you
number
said.
one, our guy, and Bobby P's guy. He brought him there. He has trust in
Right.
him, and this is his offense. And um, as long as he keeps trusting him as well, and Talon keeps proving himself,
Right.
fans can root the best for him and nothing else. I think that sums up on Talon Green, and um, I hope the Razorbacks just end it. I just hope the Razorbacks continue rolling,
Yep.
and it's a big game coming up. So and tough stretch coming up, and I hope he's able to prove himself, Talon, and all the things that we mentioned. I
Yep.
hope we start clicking.
All right. One last little question for you, and we can wrap it up completely after this. But I just thought of this based off of what happened in the game and your expectations for the game. Were your expectations met? Were they exceeded? Or were you let down? What did you think of the game overall versus your expectations?
Yeah. So going into it, I had multiple takes, as you know. I
Mm-hmm.
initially thought, hey, we're gonna get destroyed because if we can't even keep up with UAB, and
Mm-hmm.
besides the second half, the first half, if we're struggling against UAB, SEC play
Yeah.
is gonna be terrible for us,
Right.
right? And then I was like, you know what? Maybe it was a fluke game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they just overlooked UAB, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
they come into Arkansas or they go to Auburn and they are better prepared and are able to come out and win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think this is somewhere in the middle. Honestly, it's wasn't the best game,
Right.
um, but it wasn't a win is a win, and it wasn't the worst game either.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of key takeaways that we mentioned from this game,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would say this game. Oh, very happy with the win.
Yep.
And I did think that Arkansas definitely was prepared to be to face this adversity if they were down, and whatever in-game changes that they needed to make, they did
Mm-hmm.
make, and I love to see that. So I think overall, I'm gonna say it was uh, um, just met my expectations. Didn't exceed them,
Okay.
didn't didn't go below them,
Right.
but just met them. And that's why it would be like a B minus almost, right? Like they are just got there, but I think they have a lot of
Maybe a B
way higher.
plus. Maybe a B
Um,
plus or a B.
from it has to be a full game of
I mean, they did win
dominance.
by two scores. I mean, and they outscored them in the second half and fourth quarter.
Yeah,
See
those
the
4 picks, I think it's just those were
yeah,
things went our way,
right, because they did have
and
more yards than us.
right,
So
things went our way, and it wasn't the prettiest of games,
okay,
um, and so I think we have a much higher ceiling that we can get to,
mm-hmm.
and I think they have a lot of room for improvement, and that's why I'm
Yeah,
giving a B minus.
okay, that's fair. I agreed with most of what you said. So um, I keep extending this thing, but there's one more thing we have to talk about. I
What's
think you
that?
know what it is. It's what our boy Hugh Freeze said
Oh yeah, yeah,
recently.
yeah, yeah.
So by the time this is released, this episode is released, everybody will have commented on this, had thoughts on this, but might as well we'll give a take on this too. You guys all know what Hugh said. Beating Arkansas not the next 9 times that they played. If they played 9 more times, that they'd beat us all 9 of those times. Sid, what do you think about this?
So I just want to preface this. We went on it in on this and in on Hugh Freeze for like 10 minutes yesterday after this. And so I'm taken aback, and I just think this guy is clueless and kind of just looking for attention, and cannot handle a loss. And this just proves to not just your fans, but
Mhm.
all the fans around college football, and just football in general, that you cannot take a loss and you look like a fool.
Yeah.
Um, Own it like a man. And when you say you would win 9 out of 9 times,
Yeah.
and Arkansas is a great team, and I hope they win the rest of the game, but we wouldn't win 9 out of 9
But
times when you
but
lost by 10. And it's
yeah.
absolutely crazy. Um, and you just lost the respect of a lot of people, and not that including your fans even, I
Yeah.
think, um,
Nationally too. On the national
nationally, and
stage.
own up to it. And I hope he gets better as he if as the season goes on. I hope he's able to own up to, if whatever happens to them in the season, I don't care. But I hope he is able to kind of own up to this, and own up to his losses. And doubt just advice. I doubt Hugh Freeze is listening. Um, um,
You listen here, Hugh.
9 out of 9 times he would listen. Um, and
Yeah.
I just hope he learns from it, and that's all I got to say about him, man. He Not much. That's
Yeah.
it.
So for me, at first, I was like, he didn't really say that. There's no way. And at first, I thought it was ridiculous. But as I thought about it more and more, so over the weekend, he made a comment about his quarterbacks, kind of threw him under the bus. There was more to the press conference. He took accountability for some stuff too. It was a little clickbaity, but he also did throw his quarterbacks under the bus and said, we need a guy who won't throw it to the other team. And sometimes it's kind of like, yeah, don't say it like that. Don't call your guy out, because these are your warriors. These are your men that you've got to gather together, and you've got to give them reasons to fight. And that's
And you're
not
four
giving them a
games
reason to
in.
fight.
You're four
Exactly.
games in.
Exactly. So he got on the hot seat a little bit with the media when he said that. One of his former players came out and just started roasting him, an old Miss player, and then he comes out the very next day and makes that claim about Arkansas. I think that he's doing that. He's trying to do a U-turn, and instead of hating on his team, he's trying to say, "Hey, I know this team could beat that team 9 times out of 10 by saying we're better than that. We are legit." And I think that he actually is politicking a little bit. And I got this idea a little bit from I was watching the old Woo Pig podcast. Shout out to them. And I forgot who it was that was kind of talking about that. I think it was G Holmes, but um, that resonated with me, and I was like, I think he's right. Hugh is politicking a little bit with his fans that he pissed them off over the weekend, but now he's trying to say, hey, we legit, and we're going to come out swinging this weekend versus Oklahoma. And I think Hugh may be playing chess out here instead of checkers like we think. And that's going to lead to an interesting pick I might have later in another episode for our week 5 predictions. But it was annoying as an Arkansas fan to hear it. It was an eye
Listen,
roller.
I mean, I think if you had heard it from Pittman,
Right.
I would have been just as disappointed as a fan. I would just would have been like,
But think of this. Think if is it better to say, if we played that team 9 times out of 10 again, would beat it, or 9 times out of 9, or played them 9 more times, we'd beat them all 9? Or is it better to say, well, we lost, I didn't know what to do? Remember the whole I didn't know what to do? Like that, wouldn't you want him saying in a way, we can go and beat that team 9 times, you know?
yeah. So I mean, yeah,
So
I
the
agree.
more you think about it
Mhm.
and weigh it out, it's kind of like,
You
yeah.
want the
As Arkansas
fire.
fans, it's annoying.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
You want the
to
no, no,
us,
no.
it's
Even
annoying.
okay.
Uh,
I do agree. If it was Pittman, like some of these losses that we had, Oklahoma State,
mhm.
UAB, I know that was a win, but
Yeah, I wanted to see him banging his desk
his
and getting pissed.
right, me too. And that's where I'm
Yeah,
going. Like he was very in those press conferences, he was very talking like
low
this,
energy.
and this
Yeah,
it sucks. We sorry we lost, and we'll get him next time. So I wanted to see more
exactly.
fire, and I do, but also don't say dumb things while you're under like you're giving out that passion. You can
Hmm.
still give out passion without
Saying
kind
something
of
dumb like,
hating another team and saying we'll
yeah,
beat them 9 out of 9 times. I still want to see a passion
right,
from my coach and my head coach.
yeah,
If we do have a bad game, and of course I do, but as a head coach and you're getting paid that much, you should know what to say
right.
and how to fire up your
That's a
fans
good point.
without making a fool of yourself.
Right. And I'm not saying I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, if you look at it, maybe he's trying to get a different angle than what we're seeing. And I think it has to do with what game is happening next week. He's trying to stir the pot. He's trying to get people like energized, I think, for the game. Now, I'm not saying that he needed to do that, to say that, to make that happen, but I think that may have been a little bit of a
Yeah,
contributor
but
as
you
he's
know who
trying to
he's
get
gonna get
people to go to that
energized?
game.
He's gonna get Oklahoma energized as well, and so
Yeah.
we shall see
We'll
what
see.
happens in that
We'll
game,
see.
and we'll predict.
Oh,
We'll
that's
have
going to be
that
such
video.
an interesting game. I cannot wait
Um,
to watch that one.
yeah, we'll have the
Especially if
video for
Auburn beats
prediction.
them, dude. Oh my god, that would be crazy. Cuz that says, a lot about Arkansas too if Auburn wins that game. Um,
True.
but all right, I think are you good with everything that you've said about this Auburn game, Sid? Is anything else you want
Yeah,
to
I
put out
think
there?
so. I think we got a good season ahead of us. Have been on a roller coaster ride as Heartbreak Hogs fans, and
Yep.
um, our hearts were not broken this last
No.
game, and I hope we continue breaking other teams' hearts.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go Auburn A&M next week. Let's go Hugh Freeze them. All right. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you guys. If you guys got this far, please throw a like on this video. If you thought that any of the stuff that Sid and I brought up was interesting, if it was well thought out, we really love doing these pods. We love talking about the Hogs, and we want to see them win. We want to see them succeed. We're going to be hard on them when they lose, but it's tough love. It's love, let me tell you. And we're going to be super stoked and excited whenever they win like they did over this weekend. So please subscribe to the channel as well if you want to see more of our content, more of our picks. We also do videos of a reaction. We do a video of the upcoming game and then the best matchups of the next week for other games as well throughout the top 25. So with that, see you guys later. Heartbreak Hogs out.
See y'all.